Today we are going to look at an important topic, moment. Moment is a rotational force. So moment is a force that tends to rotate about a point or an axis. So here you can see that a person is trying to lift a load, and to lift that load the force that can be applied by the person is less. To increase the amount of force, the person is using the concept of moment. So what this person is doing is, the person is using a rotating point or a pivot and applying a force at a lever arm distance, and the person is increasing the applied force in multiples. So this mechanism of rotating force is called as moment. So if you look at all these examples, you can see that in a arm your elbow acts as a pivoting point. Here the wheel acts as a pivoting point. Here the point where it is getting applied, the force is acting as a pivoting point. In a scissors, the junction point between the two arms is acting as a pivoting point. Here you can see that a person is trying to uh, rotate a nut using a wrench, or you can call it as a spanner. So when you look at it in a 2D view, this is what is happening. The person is applying a force at one end of the spanner, and he is trying to rotate the nut. So this is a simplified diagram where you can see the force applied and the point of rotation. So if the force is applied at a particular distance from the pivoting point, then it is called as a turning moment. So this is a turning moment. So if the force is rotating about the axis itself, here is the axis, and the force is rotating about the axis itself, then it is called as a twisting moment, or it is also called as a torsion. Here it is a beam, one end of the beam is fixed, so load is getting applied on the other end. Now the rotation is happening in this direction, but here the beam tends to bend, then it is called as bending moment. Here the force is getting applied along the axis of the member. So the point of rotation is there, but the force is applied along the member itself. So there is no perpendicular distance between the force and the axis of rotation. In this case, no moment is created. Here you can see how to calculate the moment. It is nothing but the perpendicular distance between the force applied, distance between the force uh, and the distance. This is give you moment. So moment is equal to force into distance. So you must clearly understand that moment is always calculated with respect to a point of rotation. Here the z-axis, that is where the origin O is occurring, which is acting as the point of rotation. So this is called as a rotating axis. Here the z-axis is the rotating axis. We call this as, since we are taking the point O as the reference point, we call it as moment about O, or you can call it as moment about Z. Uh, so to calculate the moment, you can use this. You can remember it using this triangle. Moment is nothing but force into distance, perpendicular distance particularly. You must remember that it is force into perpendicular distance. You must remember that. So it is calculated and the unit is Newton meter. It is nothing but force into the distance. Moment has two kinds of moments. One is clockwise and the other is called as anti-clockwise. It is dependent on the direction in which the clock is moving. You can see that this is the pivoting point. Here, if a force is applied, this rotation is called as clockwise. If a force is applied on this side, the rotation is anti-clockwise. Then it is called as anti-clockwise moment. This clockwise, anti-clockwise is used to uh, do some calculations where you can consider either one as positive or negative, and this consideration should be taken till the end of the problem. You can take anti-clockwise as negative and clockwise as positive, or you can consider clockwise as negative and anti-clockwise as positive, and this should be considered till end of the solution. So here is a simple problem where you can calculate the moment. The actual moment is 36. To find it, you will have to multiply the force 120 with the distance 0.3. I hope you are able to understand what a moment is. Thank you.